Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to our this day's expert talk here at Formnext 2021. We will be talking about additive manufacturing and the electric connection technology, and I have invited some true experts here on stage, which I'd like to introduce to you first. To start with, welcome here on stage, Dr. Johannes Lohn, Head of Development, Marketing and Sales at Protic, that is part of the Formnext Group. Welcome. Welcome to you as well, Thorsten Wolchendorf, Managing Director of Prototech.
Yep.
As well, warm welcome to Martin Neff, Head of Plastic Freeforming at Aarburg.
Thank you.
And welcome to you as well, Professor Franz Josef Filmer, founder and partner of AM and retired Professor of Technical University OWL. Welcome here on stage.
Thank you.
We are talking not only about additive manufacturing, but the electric connection technology, which can be boosted with that kind of technology. And I think that is one of the steaming hot topics this year at Formnext, right, Professor?
I'm absolutely true. I'm sure that that is the case because my university is in the center of kind of a hub of that electrical connectors industry. And I'm kind of a dinosaur in AM, and I was asked from that industry to join the working group of AM in that industry. And what I found is that is a very interesting industry, a lot of requirements, and at the same time a lot of experience in additive manufacturing. And so my task was to bring these parties together, the AM industry and the whole ecosystem, and that very well-skilled industry. And
you have been obviously ready to do that because we have this group now together, and it's not the entire group. It's only a small part of it.
It's only a small part of that group, and I think the federations in Germany, BDMA for the mechanical engineering is very important in AM, and I know that for several years. And now that counterpart on the electrical industry, ZBEI, the Federation of the Electrical Industry, they did a similar, smaller approach in that, and they asked themselves, is it probably a good idea to come together?
Dr. Lohn, is it a good idea?
Yeah, and absolutely necessary because like the parts in electronics are very challenging for additive manufacturing. And it's not like the common materials cannot just be used easily. And on the one hand, you have the machine builders, then you have the material suppliers, and then you have the companies producing parts like Phoenix Contact, for example. And we need to talk to each other in order to know what we need, so that the researchers know what they need to develop. So it's just necessary to bring these people together. And yeah, we were very pleased to work in this VDMR working group. And my colleagues from Phoenix Contact always came around with special requirements for electronics, like small wall thickness or filigree parts, very thin tolerances. And we did not really have a solution. And in these rounds, we were able to collect like all the opinions, all the requirements, and draw a list of it, and then give this letter to the machine builders, to the material suppliers, and yeah, just opened this topic and got a lot of awareness. And now I'm pretty sure that there are many things happening now.
Thorsten Wolchendorf, what are the technical challenges you have to tackle? Because when talking about electronics, that is already complex. When talking about AM, this is complex as well. Now you're joining these two topics. That should be a hell of a complexity, right?
Yeah, it is. The question is, if you have requests of the customers and requests for plugs and connections, and on the other hand, you have like injection molding, you have processes that are in this connector production for several years, and you have materials that are for the automobile industry and so on are for years set. So, and now in the additive manufacturing, like the electronic mobility and so on, you have smaller parts and smaller series. So it is not always the time that someone is doing in the injection molding. And now is the point where they ask the additive manufacturing suppliers and so on if it is possible to get some zero series parts and so on into production. And this is a kind where the machine manufacturer have done a lot in the last years. And there were a lot of materials done, approaches done in the last years, so that there are flame-resistant materials, that the 3D ecosystem is more, can build more complex parts, that serious production is available as processes. So there now the groups have to join together and see where they can get together, and then for the future get those small series done with additive manufacturing.
You mentioned the machine manufacturers, and one of the big of them is Arburg. And you are one of the exhibitors here at Formnext, and you are a traditional part of the plastics industry with injection molding machinery. So you have the contact to the market, you have the relationships to the customers, and since some years you also have additive manufacturing technology in your portfolio. What changed when you decided to go additive manufacturing in relation to the talks to the customers? Did the requirements change for you as a machine manufacturer?
I think we try to look always at the end product, at the customer's demands. What is actually required, you know? And we as a machine builder try to find solutions to solve those requirements, to solve those issues, to solve those questions. And the question, switching for instance from injection molding to additive, I think there need to be the question raised, why should we do additive? What are the advantages in additive, right? And we all of us came in this VDMA group together, and we wanted to bring the specific advantages of additive manufacturing forward into this electrical connection world, or electrical components world. And it is very important, like my colleagues already said, that you need to look at the whole process chain, right? It's not only the machine builder, it's not only the material supplier, it's not only the designer of a product. You need to look at everything, including as well the quality, documentation, the process consistency, reliability, and all that need to get brought together. And coming back to your original question, why additive? Or why looking not only injection molding, looking into additive? We want to create certain advantages for the customers, which can be added in adding functionality, having an economical solution for small number of products, having an economical solution for prototypes, and there are special requirements in this electrical industry which we try to cover and which we try to solve together as a whole group.
Mm-hmm. During those Formnext days, I had the opportunity to visit a lot of the exhibitors and spoke to a lot of experts like yourselves. And the funny thing this year is that obviously, in comparison to last year's Formnext, there is the will to cooperate. We had individual booths and individual companies in the past that were all exhibiting, displaying their new technologies. But this time, it seems as if the networking is the #1 fashion here at Formnext. Is that impression right?
I completely agree to that, because nobody can solve all the problems which occur in the markets by themselves. I think we need a collaboration of partners in that ecosystem of AM working together, and that is not only the AM OEMs, the machine builders, it's also service providers. We have 2 of them here on board. since Johannes Lohn is also from Protec, and that is a major player in that industry. So we need these partners. We need other partners as well. For example, software, extremely important nowadays since we have marketplaces. We have optimization procedures. We have product lifecycle management systems. And we need to involve all these elements in that game of additive manufacturing for the connectors industry. But also we need in the post-processing a lot more. I think the parts are not ready coming directly out of the additive manufacturing machine. Nevertheless, all these machines are pretty good nowadays, but they are probably more on the way to more productivity now. And that, of course, means that we have to involve these machines into our factories as well as the post-processing in our factories, so that we get closer to that what we call in Germany Industry 4.0. I think that is extremely important, and in that industry, in this connectors industry, there is a lot of knowledge of all these fields, and to bring all that together, to combine that with these very profound knowledge out of that AM industry, and then to involve federations like BDMA and ZBEI into that game. That is perfect, and consultants like me.
For sure. Let's dig a little bit deeper into the topic. Let's talk about cost. What is the cost impact of additive manufacturing to the connectors world? Because we know that this industry, this connectors industry, is extremely cost efficient, and they have learned over the last decades to reduce cost dramatically to be competitive on a worldwide scale. So when talking about cost, what impact does additive manufacturing have?
Yeah, I think this point, cost, is very, very important. So I think everyone in this round would say it's not competitive with injection molding if we just do the same. So it's very important to say, okay, we use additive manufacturing for what it's made for, mass customization, individual parts, new geometries that cannot be produced before, and use at the same time injection molding for parts that we always did. Maybe we just need to add a little piece to an existing product to improve it. That is additive manufactured. Because additive manufacturing itself is quite cost intensive. And the cost driver mostly is the slow process and the machine time. Quite expensive equipment, slow processes. So if we speed up the process itself, for sure we will have quite a decrease of the cost in future, but it's not the product for the absolute mass production today. We will see what's going to happen in future. And one additional point, we are always talking about 3D printing or additive manufacturing in general, but I think here at Formnext, it comes absolutely clear there are so many different technologies that can be used for different products and types, from plastics, metals, ceramics, and so on. And some of these processes are faster, others are slower, and some are able to produce more filigree parts, others are able to produce like big parts in a shorter time. So the clue is to decide what's the right technology and the right material for my application. And then I think we have added value to all the production technologies, and additive manufacturing will find the way for serial production.
And I learned that we must not look at the manufacturing process itself only, but to need at the entire process chain, right? And there's where cost-saving potential lies, right?
Yeah, so if a customer comes to us with an idea of a product, it's mostly designed in injection molding, because all the engineers and so on have learned how injection molding is working. Now we are, as a service bureau, we have to tell them and train them that there is another thinking. If they want to go into series, they have to redesign. For example, we can fasten the speed of a print about 50 to 80% if it is design clear. And this design changes, if they are done correctly and implemented correctly, then we can speed up the prints and with this, the costs. And also for injection molding, there are different, let's say, requirements, what injection molding, how it behaves. And additive manufacturing behaves a bit different. So there are things that are possible with AM and not possible with injection molding. And also in the different way. So we have to learn, and we have to, in this case, it is good to have or are a member of those groups that we can discuss together what will be the way for the future, because all of us want to have AM transported to the future. And the connector manufacturer like Formnext or so, they are interested in this technology. And so we have all the same future vision, and now we are working on it.
Martin Neff, when customers come to your headquarters in Black Forest and they come to the front door, they can take the decision, will I turn left and go to the injection molding guys, or will I turn right and go to the freeformer guys for the additive manufacturing? Where do they turn when they are focusing on cost today?
Well, as my colleagues already said, I think it's the right horses for the right courses. So obviously, if I have to produce very precise parts, millions of those parts, I probably have trouble nowadays to create those or produce those parts with additive manufacturing. However, so there is injection molding, which has a certain advantage. However, there are some other functionalities where the additive manufacturing has a clear advantage. So the right horses for the right courses means I really need to look at my requirements. I need to look at my customers' requirements, and then I need to decide. And I also need to decide into different processes. Everybody has advantages, disadvantages maybe, and that I need to know. And I think that is also the task of such a group at VDMA, to train all the different people, to train them and to get that knowledge. How do I need to design a part that it is an additive part in the end of the day, right? And not an injection molding. Because we see that since we are getting in contact with both injection molding and additive manufacturing, very often customers come to us and they say, all right, I have heard additive manufacturing, that's cool, I can do that easily and no problem. However, there is another thinking process necessary for additive manufacturing, and that is very critical. I think in the last 5, 8, 10 years, a lot of change have already been done. Change in the designer world, change in the manufacturing world. The people learn, the people have more knowledge. They know the restrictions, they know the advantages, the disadvantages. And for us, it is very important to apply these advantages in the right fashion to fulfill the end customer's demands.
Given the fact that this is not an advertising show, but an expert show, we need to talk about critical things as well. So, let's talk about the limits of additive manufacturing concerning electric connections. Are there limits, and what can we do to overcome them?
I think there are a few general limits of additive in all industries, and I think we have to focus a little bit more on in which phase of the life cycle of a product additive manufacturing is focused on. In the first step, of course, in the ideation and design phase, we are in prototyping. In that phase, additive is completely established. In the latest phases, when the lifespan is over of that product, then we have some kind of spare parts or the like. And I think there are business cases for that. But what we more talk about, if we want to make that additive industry a bigger industry, it's today a very small industry, still a very small industry. So if we want to make it bigger, then we have to more concentrate on the middle part. And we can do that with tools. Tool making, for example. It's one big step into that. And we can make our products, our processes and machines more productive. And we can see that exactly this year. And 2 years ago, we already saw a few of these first steps into that direction. That the machines get more productive, that they get faster, that there is more competition among these machine makers and the materials guys, and a lot of competition, and I think that is the right way to make that industry more suitable for a production industry.
Dr. Lohn, what are your limits that you're seeing? Drawbacks maybe?
I think materials is always a big question. If you have an eye on traditional manufacturing technologies, you have a huge number of materials that you can choose. 1,000 kinds of PP, for example, for injection molding. In additive manufacturing, we wish to have one PP that's good processable. Then we would be satisfied as a first step. This shows that there are just a lot of work still to do. But in my eyes, it's wrong to say we are waiting, so please deliver the materials. Every one of us should be like pushing the technology forward. And this was like the motivation for us to build up a machine to process new kinds of material, for example, like a copper for connectors. Was said to be not possible. Red laser and the red material that does not work together, all energy is reflected, but it works. I think we need to be, not say brave, but just give it a try. Let's work together, see, okay, here we have expertise in machine building and injection molding. What can he bring? And then we asked Professor Filmer, with years of experience, what could be the right way to process this material? And in the end, we are able to qualify this new range of materials, like we did then with copper, or for connectors, especially zinc, as a combination with zinc die casting. Again, the traditional manufacturing zinc die casting for mass production. But what happens in the development phase? There is no real prototyping technology, so it was necessary to find a process to print zinc by additive manufacturing. And we took this way and found a way to do it, and now it's possible. And this opens doors, so we can speed up the development for prototyping. That's quite usual for additive manufacturing, but then if you think later in the process, in the lifetime of the product, what happens after the high running time? The spare parts, after 20, 25 years. So you don't need any tool anymore, then you can start printing the small lot sizes again in a serial production.
It sounds like you've overcome all the problems, but come on, you must be kidding. There must be some challenges still to overcome, right?
Yeah, I think the materials are a challenge at the moment. We have, as said before, we have injection molded materials, and now we have 3D printed materials, and they are mostly not the same. Even if they are called the same, the mechanical properties are not the same. So we have, in 3D printing, we have new materials, and the market doesn't know those materials. So there's a lot of transition and for materials. They have to test a lot. So I think there's a way to go until those new materials are tested, inspected, and qualified for this industry. And yeah, it's like flame resistance. There are not many materials that have flame resistance, and they have some disadvantages when using them. So there is always the question of what will be the materials of the future in 3D printing, and which materials will get qualification and inspection for the future to get connectors done, and by all the requests that are given by the manufacturers and the connector industry.
I heard one of the exhibitors say here at Formnext that he has great problems in finding new young professionals, because the way to introduce AM in the connectors industries is to train young people to work with this material and with this technology. So what about the scarcity of young professionals? Do you notice that as well at Aalborg, that it's difficult to get the young guys from university being trained on designing and processing additive manufacturing technologies?
I think we are kind of in a lucky situation, I can say. Additive manufacturing has a kind of I call it a cool fashion effect right
sexiness?
now. Sexiness, yes, sexiness in the manufacturing world because of the possibilities you have, functionality of parts and some, sexiness parts, which we can also see here on the show. So I have to say that it is not so difficult to attract the younger students directly from school into additive manufacturing. You still need to train them. I think though it can be a challenge if you have a designer who is designing, let's say, injection molding parts for 30 years, and now you ask him to design a functional additive part. That guy needs a while to get the possibility up in his mind what you have with additive manufacturing. But back to your question, I think we are at least in this lucky position that it is not that difficult to find younger people for additive manufacturing. I don't know if...
That sounds promising. At least one problem, one box ticked, right?
Yeah.
So to come to an end, I would like, of course, to use the fact that I have 4 experts here with me on stage. Let's talk about the future. What are the future trends in additive manufacturing for the connectors industry? What are you foreseeing, and what will be the topic when we meet again here in, let's say, 5 years' time on Formnext stage? Start with you.
I think we will need to use the advantages of additive manufacturing. Not just copying, not just prototyping, not just spare parts. We need better products. So now I have the image, maybe we have 10 connectors on a PC. Why do we have 10? Why isn't it just one? We can sum up all this function in one part and have an individual connector for one function. Maybe it's the same time for signals and power supply, and maybe also for other mediums, water or air. That was not possible in our days, because then you don't have this high lot size, because it's very specific. But additive manufacturing offers the design freedom and the possibility to produce these small lot sizes. So I think there are just new products coming, and then they have an added value, so the product might be a bit more expensive, but the use is so improved that there's no discussion about the costs anymore, because there's this added value for maybe a bit higher price, and then you can't just use it for build it with injection molding. We need additive manufacturing at this point. And then we open the doors for real big, serious production and new applications.
Sounds promising. Thorsten Wolchendorf, I want to have a look into your crystal ball.
I think that the individualization will be a great factor. And we see it at the e-mobility that at the moment the pieces that are requested are quite low, and no one knows where the technology goes in 3, 5 or whatever years. So even the quantity is low at the moment, and it might be that the technology rises up so fast that every year a new connector is used because there's a new function in the car, and every time they would have to do new toolings. So I think even in high-running technologies where we have life cycles of about 1 year maybe, or in 5 years maybe a half a year, there is not always tooling cost-effective. And there we can use just a little small redesign of maybe a little pin somewhere, added or removed, will in the injection molding be in new tools. And we just load a different part and print further.
Martin Neff, what will we be talking about in 5 years' time?
We have enhanced the materials which are available, especially for electrical connections or electrical parts. Or yeah, we have a higher output. We have more precise parts, and we have reduced costs of machine equipment.
And what is your perspective for the future, Professor?
I think that the already observed trends that the productivity is gaining will proceed, and we will see a lot more. That speed will accelerate a lot, and we will see additive manufacturing as kind of a standard production process in 5 or 10 years at least. So that we not have to ask ourselves what can we do with additive manufacturing. We have to ask ourselves, and I'm pretty sure that we will do that in 5 years. We will ask ourselves what manufacturing technology is the best for that problem-solving solution which we have. If there is not a problem to be solved in our products, then it's only gadgets. And probably prototypes, but we will come there, and I'm pretty sure we have to find problems to be solved, and then there will be a manufacturing technology. Might that be additive or not? And I think that will be the future.
Great. Gentlemen, that was not only a pleasure, but great fun having you on stage. Thanks for your insights into the future of additive manufacturing in electric connection technologies. Thanks a lot. Enjoy the rest of the Formnext, and thank you for watching. See you next time here at Formnext TV Stage.